Hello and welcome back to Serie A Spotlight. We're your hosts Jake and Matt.
You know what time it is!
I can't tell you guys enough how much you've been my internal monologue when thinking about football for the last year.
Yes! Amazing!
We get to record while drinking some wine. Jake and I will have a very special soft spot for Salernitana.
We love him.
We love him. Stop zooming in on Allegri's face, bro. You're gonna make
How are
me
you
break.
exposing me?
Because you're gonna make me break, man. Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is episode number 160 and we're your hosts Matt
And Jake.
and we're here finally after a 1 week hiatus where Jake was enjoying his 30th birthday, guys. Give a nice happy birthday to Jake, no longer in his 20s. How do you feel, bro?
Strong.
Strong?
I feel strong. I feel well, bro.
Your best years are yet to come.
My best years are yet to come. I'm gonna look at myself as a Papu Gomez type and kind of see my prime as, you know, yet to come.
Okay.
Hopefully without the whole doping thing.
Yeah, and you know, without a little guy punching you in the face and ending your career, essentially.
A guy your height, you mean?
Let's not go down that rabbit hole again, bro, because this episode will be 2 hours and a half long. Jake was in Milan, enjoying his 30th. I was on the toilet, not enjoying a virus that I had, and I'm not gonna lie, all the feverishness is gone, but the stomach cramps are prevailing, hence why we didn't have the episode, unfortunately.
It would have been quite a complicated solo episode for you to edit, I think, when it came to the background noise.
Tell us about your trip in Milan. So obviously you watched the Derby della Madonnina, the 1-1.
I have watched 2 Milan derbies in my life. The first one was when Suso scored twice and they equalized.
You mean Messi?
At the very end, I mean Messi, yes. When they equalized at the very end, remember, with Perisic and Kandreva,
Yes, bro.
I think, or the other way around. I
Took
think
his top
Kandreva, and then Perisic scored at the end and they equalized. The exact same thing happened last week when I went, of course. Milan had a very good performance, a very strong performance. They came out really well. They were actually pinning Inter back for a bit.
Pre any signings, by the way.
Pre any signings. And that's the thing I wanted to kind of talk to you about, bro. Milan made substitutions against Inter and became much weaker in front of my very eyes. They brought on Jimenez and Chukwueze and Camarda. The child in the derby up front, you know. I mean, we love Camarda and we think that he's going to be something special in the future, but to bring him on as your second striker
when you're defending a lead, especially you take out Tammy Abraham, who, you know, defending against Inter's corners was quite crucial.
But then in the Roma game, Milan made substitutions and became much stronger. And I was like, this is day and night. It's been 4 days, 5 days, and the team has completely transformed. And I think going forward, these solutions will be massive for Milan. Milan had the transfer market that should have happened in the summer and the winter.
Exactly. How was like the belief in the stadium for both the games?
I think I'm of the belief that there was a silent protest. No, it wasn't obvious. There weren't any chants or anything like that. But I think the fans find themselves right now in kind of a weird place where they're not happy with the way the club is being run.
Yeah.
But the transfer market was quite promising and it doesn't really warrant complaints, I think. So in fact, the chance of, you know, Cardinale, devo vattene, vendere, whatever that is, you know, sell, go away, whatever that is. I only heard them a little bit outside the stadium before the Inter game. Then the Roma game, of course, I didn't hear it a single time. No, not a single time.
No, message received, no?
Yes, I think they genuinely, I think the board has kind of understood the assignment. Finally. They hopefully they can understand the culture now with the mistakes they've made. But
It's
whatever.
Exciting.
It is exciting. It's very exciting.
That's what we'll be doing today, going through each team and talking about their transfer market. So we will be discussing Milan along with a bunch of other teams. Of course, that means that we won't be discussing this match day, the match day before, and the match day before that. But hopefully you guys have stayed caught up over there. There were some beautiful moments. There was the Derby della Madonnina, the Derby del Sole. Retegui scored 4 goals in a single match. At poker, recently, Juve got Moani and he can't stop scoring. Now they face Inter coming up. Fiorentina went on a good spell.
Cagliari distanced themselves a little bit with a 6-pointer victory. They keep winning these.
And the table has gotten really tight up front, whereas before it looked like Napoli, when Inter lost that game to Fiorentina and Napoli distanced themselves within 3 points without any games in hand, now they're just 1 point ahead after their disappointing draw to Udinese, and Atalanta are just 5 points behind Napoli.
Did you see the goal Napoli conceded against Udinese?
No, I didn't.
That's my goal of the week if we had one.
Yeah?
If we had to pick one. It looked like it was going to be a cross with the right foot from the edge of the area towards Lucca. However, he went for kind of like a knuckleball into the bottom left corner from the right side, from the right edge of the area.
Damn.
It was absolutely incredible, bro, that goal. It looked like something out from, the mobile game Score Hero.
Yeah.
It looked like
my
something
God,
like that.
Really over
literally.
curl it.
And when you break down that goal, you really see some limitations in Napoli's team, man. You see Meret going to grab a ball that's totally his to claim. Juan Jesus clears it into the direction of Mazzocchi, who miscontrols it and it's going out for a throw-in. And to prevent the throw-in, he clears it back into the path of Udinese. Udinese get the ball and launch the counter, and it was Eklinkamp who went for that shot. Lucca went for the dummy run to the far post, and instead of crossing, he angled his body. It looked like he was going to cross, bro. It was crazy. But he went for that bottom left corner, and he beat Meret. That was a lovely goal. Lovely goal.
Of course, some news that we also had was that Monza have dropped Salvatore Bocchetti, and they've gone back to Nesta, which is a move. Yes. Because if you're going to remove Nesta, who, as we were saying, he could really grow into the team, and he had a promising career, so to say, at Monza, even though it was off to a slow start. If you're going to change him, and I was of the belief that they needed that change to shock the players, make the right fucking decision. Because this is embarrassing now when you change him for a manager that had the horrific track record that he had at Hellas Verona, so on and so forth. You bring him in, he gets you a win, and they're like, you see, believe. And then they lose 4 games in a row, and they bring Nesta back in. And now it's like, Nesta, come in, okay, you did okay before. Well, you didn't do too great before, but now you have to try to do the same with virtually an entirely new team, without Daniel Maldini, without Bondo, without Mari, and without Juric and all these guys. So, good luck, Nesta. You had a hard time before.
Don't worry. We have equipped you with a youngster from each team in Italy.
Exactly.
What the hell are they doing?
The striker of young boys.
Yes. We'll talk about their market, of course, in great detail very soon. But yes, wild decision by Monza to even go for someone of the likes of Bocchetti. But to be honest, I'm just happy to see Nesta back, because I enjoyed watching his football.
It was good football. Was good football. We'll see what the results are like, though, because that's the important thing now. They need to get themselves to around 36 to 40 points to have a chance of survival.
Did better in the big games.
Yeah. New patron. Hello, Tyson, our new resident Parma fan. I need to pick his brain a little bit on Pecchia. That'll be an interesting conversation to stir in the group chat. But thank you very much. Obviously, guys, if you're all new here, if any of you are new here, we're on TikTok, Twitter, we're on all the social media accounts that you can find, Instagram. We're also on YouTube, so subscribe to us over there. And we're also wherever you get your podcasts.
Yes.
Spotify, Apple, Google, and drop us a 5-star rating there. It'll be much appreciated.
Yes, Tyson is an absolute legend. He is a Parma fan, the first Parma fan in our WhatsApp group chat.
Yeah.
That makes, now we have Atalanta, we've got Napoli, Milan, Inter, Juve, we've got a Sassuolo fan, Who else? What else? We have a Parma fan now, so Milan, of course, the vast majority of them.
Yeah, Inter,
But yes,
Napoli.
do feel free to join this Patreon group chat of ours, guys. It's active 24/7.
Yeah.
And it's good fun. We often have some banterous moments.
Absolutely.
Less active recently with you on the John and me in Italy.
Yeah, but they keep the conversation
They do.
going, which
They
is
do.
which is excellent. Some of them might meet up. There's
And in the US.
in the US. It's really sweet. I love it. Shall we jump straight into it? So, guys, what we're gonna do over here is we're gonna go through the table, all the way from Napoli down to Monza. Present to you guys exactly what these teams did in the winter transfer market, because there's a lot you might have missed. There's certainly a lot that we missed. Give you the pros, the cons, and our rating for each team's transfer window. So I think we should jump straight into it, because the nature of our podcast, bro, means we have 20 teams to go through every single episode. So the quicker we start this one, the better it'll be.
Absolutely. And we can start off, of course, with Napoli.
Yes.
Shall we go through it and give our ratings at the end, or start off with our ratings?
Let's go through it and discuss, and then give our ratings.
So, of course, to kind of summarize what happened to Napoli, Kvaratskhelia handed in a transfer request, essentially, and pretty much forced his way out to PSG for 70 million. Napoli then made it their number one priority to try to find a Kvaratskhelia replacement. They spoke to a few players. They spoke to Saint Maximin.
Saint Maximin. That guy, I always forget his name. Christ. Adeyemi.
They spoke to many of these guys, but they ended up eventually landing Noah Okafor from Milan on deadline day, or Noah Porkafor, as the Milan fans are now referring to him, as he is out of shape, having failed his medical at Leipzig as well with no injury. They've also let go of Foloruncio to Fiorentina, Zerbin to Venezia, and Caprile, of course, has also gone to Cagliari.
Yeah.
They landed
been
also, so
killing
apart
it.
from Okafor, they also brought in Billing, who we touched upon this podcast. They brought in Scuffet from Cagliari, that was part of the swap for the goalkeepers.
Yeah.
And they've also brought in Hassa from Lecce, who's a young attacking midfielder with good dribbling and vision. He's still developing, but he could be one for the future. He is a Juve next-gen talent.
Yeah.
What do you think of this market, bro?
Well, what do I think of this market? I think it was an absolute train wreck. I don't think it could have gone much worse for Napoli. I think when you lose your star man, we know what it's like to lose your star man and not replace him, and it's dangerous. I think what Napoli had in a new Conte system is a player that could make it tick. A player that won the Scudetto for the club. As Osimhen had left, they had at least kept Kvaratskhelia. Just a world-class talent. And they've lost him. And they haven't replaced him adequately. They haven't replaced him at all. They've brought in Noah Okafor. That in itself is a huge failure on two parts. A, because their depth is already super weak as it is, and over there what they did was remove a starting player and bring in a fucking Neres backup at the end of the day, because that's all Okafor is going to be, a Neres backup. Yes, they're playing one competition a week, but their squad is fucking thin, bro. It's ridiculously thin. And I don't think they did a good job at beefing that squad up at all. I think if I have to commend them on one move, I guess it's Billing. Because Billing is the same mold, from what I understand, as Scott McTominay, who's been super important. That's kind of like that striker with an eye for a goal. That midfielder with an eye for a goal.
He's got better, of course, defensive qualities than all of their midfielders when it comes to the chart. What do you call it? That type of chart, you know?
The Madonna.
Yeah.
The heat map.
No, not the heat map. The stats chart, whatever. When it when they kind of, you've got every attribute on the side, the circular one. You can see his defensive contributions are much better than all three of Napoli's midfielders. However, hasn't looked too sharp yet, of course,
No.
because these players
No.
need time, especially when you're shopping from outside
Uh-huh.
of the league.
Bro, I also thought that the Scuffe Caprile move, they downgraded over
I think
there.
that was mostly because of Caprile, to be honest.
I think so, because
Yeah.
he deserves to be starting. But they nonetheless, they definitely downgraded there. They downgraded in the left wing department. I think Folorunsho, completely deployable.
course.
Zerbin, completely deployable.
Florencio and Conte had a fight in pre-season or something.
Yeah, shocking, right? Shocking. I would give, bro, I would give this mercato for Napoli a 4. And not a point higher than 4, because I think, if anything, you could actually make it lower, because it was an abysmal market. And I was alluding to it's bad on two fronts. A, it's because of their depth and their starting 11 quality, which has to a certain extent dipped rather than starting 11 quality, because Neres has been so hot, probably better than Gvara this season. Their squad has gotten worse. But secondly, Conte is already one toe out the door after a mercato like this, because Conte has one requirement: you give him what he asks for. He lost Gvara and they gave him Noah Okafor. That is you're asking to break ties with Conte completely, because he's hot-headed.
Of course, Okafor, he's no Kvaratskhelia, he's no Neres, right?
No.
For the Napoli fans who are wondering what they could expect from Okafor at his best, you've got a tricky winger who can take on a man, who can attack the byline, and who can pick out the pass. His end product, while in stride, isn't great. However, when it comes to entering the box late, he does have a knack for scoring.
He scored many winners.
For Milan, he scored many winners just by coming on and being at the right place at the right time in the box.
Yeah.
So I guess if he could get into shape quickly, he could be a solution for Napoli. The bad news for Napoli is that Neres has just suffered a muscle injury. So that's is absolutely devastating. That means they've lost Gvara and Neres, the two X factors. Now we'll see how they
screams Spinazzola.
We'll see how they recover. I think Spinazzola might also be injured, if I'm not mistaken.
Fucking crazy.
But yes, we'll see how they handle this, because I think a draw to Udinese. I haven't seen the press conference by Conte yet. We'll take a look at the next poor result, because Conte will start running his mouth soon. We'll start changing that narrative.
Very soon.
We'll start changing the mood if things start going sour, because this, as you said, is a failure on the part of De Laurentiis. To allow this to happen.
There was you guys know, if you watch the pod, for the majority of the season, I always said Napoli, to me, they are the favourites. I know the bookies say otherwise. They say Inter are the favourites. I look at Napoli now and I'm like, they might not actually be favourites after all, after this mercato. I think after losing Gvara and with this Neres injury now, I don't know how long term it is. Yes, they're solid defensively, and typically the winning team is solid defensively. Historically, that's been the case. But going forward, I don't know if they have enough, especially with that 1 point deficit now.
There's only so much a coach can give a team when it comes to defensive solidity. As I mentioned in the intro, man, two massive individual errors from players who are not too standard at that Napoli side. And Juan Jesus. Just amateur-esque. All they had to do to prevent.
And where's should they not have signed the defender Napoli? Wasn't it the whole thing that since Buongiorno's injury, they're having to start Juan Jesus, who last season was a massive liability for them? They needed a centre-back.
Yeah, it would have definitely helped them. Yeah, definitely.
Instead, they're swapping their keeper.
Instead, they brought in Hassa from Lecce.
Exactly.
Watch him tear it up.
I gave it a 4.
I gave it a 4 too.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, so that's Napoli. 4. Second place.
Let us know if you agree, guys.
Yes,
comments.
That's a huge
Flood our comments on YouTube. We're tired of these lack of comments.
What I would love is for your ratings on each mercato for each team. If you copy paste them there, we can even rate your ratings. It's just a whole rating orgy at that point.
Fantastic.
So next, Inter. Not very active, were they, Inter? They've brought in Zalewski from Roma. He's on loan at them.
Mm-hmm.
And they've gotten rid of Buchanan, who's out on loan to Villarreal, and Palacios, who's out on loan to Monza. They certainly haven't lost much. But how much did they gain with that Zalewski signing?
So they gained an energetic wing back on favourable terms, I would say, because he wasn't really loved at Roma. He wanted his way out. He wasn't really understood at Roma, so his market value will have decreased. If you see Zalewski playing for Poland and playing for Roma, they're two different Zalewskis, you know. And I think he would work well in Inzaghi's system. So that was quite a successful signing, in my opinion. He got the bloody assist for the goal against Milan when I was there.
Ah, yeah, of course. On his first appearance.
I was gonna kill Chukwueze, bro. I was
Bro,
gonna jump onto the
what
pitch
the
and choke him.
Fuck was
I
he
watch
doing?
in front of my eyes. He jogs back, doesn't follow Zalewski, goes to double man to Ram, I believe it was, and Zalewski just gets the ball at the far post on his own.
The defending was perfect
I was
up
gonna
until
kill him. I was
Chukwueze
gonna kill
came
him.
on.
So for me, this Inter mercato is more like what we've come to know of Marotta and the fact that he doesn't like to move in the middle of a season, but he prefers to operate in the summer where there are more opportunities. I'll give it a 5. I mean, you know,
I gave it a 5. I think the good thing about Zalewski, the Zalewski signing, we know Zalewski is wildly inconsistent. He's promising, but he has been inconsistent. I think what they get is, with Di Marco being a little bit in and out with injuries this season, it gives them a vice for him. Now, of course, they had Carlos Augusto. They seem to be preferring Carlos Augusto as a left centre-back. And I don't know if it's them preferring him or just an availability thing, because Pavard had his injuries, Acerbi had his injuries.
even Bastoni was out for a bit.
Even Bastoni was out for a bit. So it's good that they just brought in some reinforcement. And we know that Zalewski can play either side.
Yeah.
We know that Darmian can also play as a centre-back, and so can Carlos Augusto. So to be honest, it was quite an intelligent signing from their end. Rating-wise, I gave them a 5 as well. I think there was one more move they could have made in midfield.
I agree.
For that deep-lying midfielder where Aslani just simply isn't fitting in, unfortunately.
And that will probably come next summer, as they seemed to have landed Susic.
And Susic, that role, is that
He's
mode
a
of play?
Dynamo Zagreb player. He plays similarly to Brozovic.
Oh, this is the one that
who
said
is
he's
a
stronger Brozovic.
Yeah. That would be great for them. I think they miss Brozovic. I mean, sucks for Aslani, because really there's little faith shown in him at the moment, and this would be brutal, you know, to play the rest of the season knowing that there's a guy coming in to replace you, to make you the third choice the following year.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to prove. But yeah, I mean, Inter, a 5. It seemed weird rating their market when they made one move. I think they could have used a midfielder, and I think their strikers aren't exactly very attractive players. However, Arnautovic did get the winner for them the last game against Fiorentina.
He did. But sure, whatever, it's still Arnautovic. I think that they have Taremi, who is a great vice. I think Arnautovic has shown that he struggles. Sometimes he's going to score a goal. He's a striker at Inter.
Big one at that.
And then there's Correa. I think if they're not going to utilize Correa so much, I think they could have landed some kind of swap deal, maybe to bring in someone a little bit more useful. But again, I think Inter just did what they had to do with no fluff and no bullshit. So yeah, a 5, I think, quite bland in that sense. Next
so
up,
far we agree totally, entirely.
Right. It's with transfers, I'm the one that gives higher and lower ratings, and you're typically the middle, like the more composed,
level-headed.
One. Exactly. Let's see this one. Atalanta have brought in Daniel Maldini from Monza and Posh from Bologna on loan. 2 good signings. They've lost Gollini to Roma, Godfrey to Ipswich, and Zaniolo, who went to Fiorentina, which we will discuss soon. I think when it comes to the pros of this is they directly replace the players they lost with versatile options. So, for example, for Godfrey, they brought in Posh, and Posh can play right back and he can play centre back. For Zaniolo, who's a right winger that can also play as a secondary striker, they brought in Maldini, who can play either side. He can play secondary striker. We've seen him play in a false nine system as well. And also a good thing, when they lost 2 Italians, they brought in an Italian, which I know Atalanta have many Italians, but it's also it's important because of these quotas that they've introduced. When it comes to the cons, I think the upgrades were very minimal, and I don't think they focused on the areas that they needed the most. I think they needed central midfielders, which is something that I've mentioned. I don't think that... I think that Ederson and Verona are excellent. I don't think Suleiman and Pasalic are adequate backups for them.
Especially Pasalic in that role, because Pasalic is better closer to goal. Yes, I agree with you totally. Maldini fits the mold of many players that they've already got. He's kind of like that creative type.
They've got so many, bro.
Yeah, Samardzic,
Samardzic, Brescianini, Maldini, Lookman.
Brescianini, however, could also play a little bit deeper. He
but
could
not
do
in a
it.
central midfield role. I mean, if they're really pushing it,
he has done it.
They'd rather do Scalvini to Brescianini, I think.
Not sure.
I think he's a bit more offensive.
Brescianini could, even with Frosinone, we saw him in more of an offensive role because he was one of the better players, one of the more gifted ones. But I think by mold, he's more of a...
By mold, yes, but I've only seen him play more offensive for Atalanta.
To be honest, same.
Right?
Same.
Right?
Same. I think that Posh is quite interesting as well because I see him as a good player for Gasperini to work with, simply because he loves these powerful wing backs, these tireless, powerful wing backs with an eye for a goal.
Yeah.
And Posh is definitely that. At Bologna had the season, he scored I don't know how many goals.
Yeah.
So I'm quite excited to see him there. I can imagine him being kind of like a Hatteberg kind of servant.
Exactly. I like Posh and I like Maldini. They're not bad players that they've brought in.
My criticism as well, sorry, because I didn't finish my point, is the centre midfield. I agree with you totally. However, I think they needed a striker.
I have here Scamacca's injury means that Retegui is their only bomber.
He's their only striker.
And they were closing in on Lucca.
Yes.
They wanted Lucca and they wanted him bad.
Would have been
devastating for you
to watch Lucca score 30 goals a season.
How good is Retegui, man?
Retegui is so... Bro, those 4 goals he scored.
Complete striker.
Those 4 goals. Honestly... He's a
you texted me how were the goals and there's like poacher goals like literally like nothing flashy or anything, just good finishes and very, very reliable and intelligent positioning. He could finish the easy ones and he could finish the hard ones. He's always there. Gazan Mamo
with you. Spalletti described him as a sniper, and that's
perfect.
True. He's a sniper.
Perfect.
Poacher. That's it. He just has that killer instinct, man, and he's becoming more complete season after season.
You know what I want?
What?
An Italy Retegui kit. That would be for the next World Cup, or a Moise Kean one. Those are 2 mental options, man.
Spalletti give us the 4-4-2.
Yeah. But
or the 3-5-2, actually, that's better.
With wing backs, Di Marco and Bellanova or Cambiaso. Well,
it has to be 3-5-2.
It has to be.
It has to be 3-5-2.
So, okay, I think we agree in the sense that they brought in 2 exciting players, but we don't think they focused enough on the areas that they need. 5 as fuck.
5 as fuck. They're not bad signings, but they were both...
To be honest,
Posh was needed. Maldini was unnecessary. It was an opportunity.
I think it could even be a 4.5, just considering that they simply didn't get the players that they needed. Again, Maldini, it's important because they're looking rather thin up front, surprisingly, because of the amount of injuries that they have. Posh, I guess, yes, because they also have injuries at the back. But no central midfielder, no striker. 5, I think, is fair.
5 is good, I think.
Lazio. What have Lazio done?
They left it late, that's for sure.
They left it late, but I have to commend them for one signing in particular. And that is the signing of Belayan from Verona for €9.5 million. And the reason is they simply didn't have a player of the same mold as Rovella. And when Rovella was injured, we've said this, they even had to play Patrick. And when they played Delabashiru, he's not Rovella. So Belayan is the perfect, not even a vice for Rovella, competitor for Rovella. Rovella is staple in that team. He is dictating Lazio's game, and Rovella, I don't feel like we praise him enough, bro, this season.
Rovella
He's
is
been
excellent. Yeah.
He's been excellent. He's grown so much. I'm seeing him at Monza thinking he's promising, but now he's just on a completely different level.
He's bloody good, man. And to be honest, no one competes with him in that Lazio team. He is the heart and soul.
But now they have Belayan. And Belayan can, with their multiple competitions that they're in Lazio, he can definitely put in a shift.
He was needed.
Yeah.
Needed.
Exactly.
They needed help there. As you said, 2 players covering that position. Vecino hasn't been available at all whatsoever. Basic isn't great, yes. So Belayan is a nice coup for them, I think, and for that price especially. You know, I bet you in a season, one good season, he can become a €30 million player very easily.
I think so. He's young, bro. He's 21 years old, 22 years old.
Fantastic,
he has a
dynamic midfielder, great ball control and vision. Likes to dribble a man in midfield. He's a similar mold to Benacer.
Yeah, 100%. They've brought in Profstgard, who I don't know too much about.
Someone's gonna be like, bro, that's not how you say it. It's
Profstgard. Am I mistaken? Say he's a centre back?
He's a centre back. He is tall.
Which was well needed.
He is physical. He's from a market that Lazio do like to explore.
The Danish
market, exactly. Isaacson was also brought in from the Danish market. Now, just to give you some contrast between Isaacson and Profsgaard. Isaacson was a top scorer of the league, was one of the best teams. While this guy, Profsgaard, is with a relegation team. So they signed a relegation team centre back.
Okay.
I
guess we'll see.
They needed a centre back, and you know, sometimes with scouting you can find diamonds in the rough. You can really poach these players, and in Italy, many of these old school sporting directors and owners really know how to do this, and they excel when it comes to doing this. So I'm very curious to see what kind of player they've brought in over here. The good news is that they didn't need a starter, but they just needed someone to kind of rest a few players.
Yeah.
However,
they needed another Gigot.
Yes, that's it. Maybe a little bit calmer. They also brought in Ibrahimovic, no relation to Zlatan. Of course, this is Aryon Ibrahimovic, who we're very excited about. We saw him at Frosinone. He scored in Serie A before. He was playing at, I believe, 17 years old in Serie A and scoring.
Yeah.
He's got great technique and finishing ability. I think he's very exciting for them.
And they removed Akpro and Castrovilli, and I think those are the fringe players that they had to get rid of. Castrovilli, about time. They got him in the summer, but he's absolutely done fuck all for Lazio. So it's good that they managed to get rid of him on loan to Monza. At least maybe he'll get some playing time unless he's injured, as always.
Oh my God, Castrovilli.
Disaster, man. Disaster.
And they've sent them both to Monza.
Yes.
Castrovilli.
Everyone's trying to help Monza just by giving them players on loan.
By giving them the crap.
Lazio, I think simply because they've gotten themselves a centre-back which they needed. They've gotten themselves a vice for Rovella which they needed. And they got themselves a young, promising talent in Ibrahimovic. And they removed Castrovilli and Akpakpro. I think they've upgraded. I'll give them... I have a 6.5 here, but I'm between a 6 and a 6.5.
Pick one, yeah.
I'll go 6.5. I'll go 6.5.
I gave them a 6.
I think you gave them a 6. I think Belayan was an excellent signing for them. I'll stick with the 6.5.
I agree. Belayan was great. I do think they could have used Nuno Tavares backup. Even though Maricic and Hisa have been okay. I mean, not great, but Marisic's actually been popping up with some big goals.
Yeah.
And the centre back, I'm not sure what to expect. So I think
that's fair.
6 is reasonable.
Very good.
Especially when they're, they have a chance of winning the Europa League, man.
Yeah.
They've made it a point,
So we're finally in agreement. Well, we finally disagreed.
Yes, by
on
0.5.
one. Yeah. Next up, we have Juve. Sorry, I'm vomiting here.
Vomiting, shitting, you've been a disaster.
I'm a disaster, man. Next up, we've got Juve. Juve have acquired and let go of quite a few players. Juve have acquired Costa from Guimarães, from Guimarães or whatever in the Portuguese league. He's a right back that can also play centre back, right? Yeah. They've also brought in Veiga from Chelsea for 4 million. He's another Portuguese player. He's a centre back.
Who can also play fullback, apparently.
Can also play fullback. They've brought in Kelly for Newcastle. That's another centre back.
Who can also play fullback.
Who can also play fullback. And Kelly is a substitute for Newcastle. And I remember Theo was a friend of mine and a patron. He was just like, it's really weird how Juve want Kelly. I'm like, tell me about Kelly. He's like, he's a sub-centre back at Newcastle. Like, he's fine. Like, okay. And the big signing, however, is the dry loan of Kolo Muani, who's been on fire. He has 5 goals in 3 games, so that is excellent. I think they focused definitely on the areas that were needed. They needed a striker and they needed 3 defenders. And they didn't shy around over there. Sorry, before I give the rest of my opinion. They've loaned out Fagioli to Fiorentina. I do believe that there's
some
an option or an obligation.
There's something for sure.
Danilo is off to Flamengo. Arthur is off to Girona. And Pogba's dead. But he's not dead. He doesn't exist in the Juve world anymore. So I think they did well with signing a striker that is way, way, way more in Motta's mold. I think he fits perfectly, and just from watching him in those games, Juve struggled against Como, but he managed to score. And that's what Vlahovic wasn't managing to do. So that is a significant upgrade. And even the fact that he is linking just the midfield to attack a little bit better with these late runs into the box and just playing the ball around nicely next to Cope Miners. The cons are defenders can definitely be of a higher quality. I like the Costa one. I'm not sure about Veiga and Kelly though. And also, I like Fagioli. And he has an obligation at Fiorentina. And like, he's a young talent, and I think they're letting him go for nothing, to be honest.
So I've spoken to Adam, the Juve fan, who our regular listeners would know. We went to his, we saw his kit collection, beautiful kit collection. You should look that up, guys. We also had him on the podcast. He's a great Juve, great guy, fantastic guy to talk to about football as well, because he is a diehard Juve fan. And he made a good point, because I was like, come on, you're going to let Fagioli go. You're going to keep letting these promising players go as collateral. The likes of Huijsen or Hausen, whatever.
Now he's Hausen, because he's at Bournemouth.
Fagioli as well, these players who kind of, you're looking at them and then their market value in the future could be much higher. But then he made a good point. He said that football has become nowadays a business. Football, the way it operates, is different. And Italian teams, to keep up with these other big teams, the likes of the Premier League, PSG, state-owned clubs, whatever, they need a different approach. What's Juve's approach been? Juve have their Juve Next Gen team. Where they bring up these players. Huijsen, Fagioli, whatever. These guys can be used to fund big signings for Juve to make. Signings that are ready, signings that can make them compete. On the one hand, it sucks for Juve fans to see the players that they love and they're excited to watch with the first team get sold prematurely. But on the other hand, you can't make the signings that you are used to making without them. Because this isn't the Juve of the past, you know what I mean? So I think that when it comes to their transfer market, I do think that this was quite a successful one, because they managed to get rid of, once again, some more deadweight. Now you can say, okay, selling Danilo, you lose someone who really understands what it means to be Juventus, and there are fewer and fewer of those guys nowadays. Sure, but however, he was a liability in most games he played, right? Danilo,
yes, absolutely.
Fagioli wasn't being utilized by Motta.
He wasn't being utilized. It's
he brings
strange.
him on for 3-4 minutes a game.
I believe Fagioli on his day, he could move the ball around brilliantly.
Yes.
And he can fit that number 6 role, the Locatelli role. Probably in the next 3 seasons, if they showed faith in him, he could probably be a much better player than Locatelli, in my opinion. They'll make, if the obligation is with conditions, right? So naturally, if it does go through, 13.5 million euros along with bonuses that could reach 3 million, thus raising the package to around 18 million. So 18 million at least, they're making something.
The thing is that they were unlucky with the ACLs as well, because Cabal and Bremer, both doing their ACLs, made the sale of Huijsen look, of course, even worse than it really was. And the fact that they had to spend money to bring in someone else, and it was Kelly, and they actually spent more on Kelly than they sold Huijsen for, I believe.
They bought Kelly for 3.8 million.
3.8 it was?
Sorry, they
no,
got
that
him
was the loan, but then there's something to make him permanent.
Okay.
That would be more. So, but that's irrelevant. That was a matter of chance. Like, that's just how it played out. I think for Juve, this was a solid market because it addressed every weakness they had.
It's true.
The defense, they got 3 players who can play centre back or full back. So they might see less of Savona till he's ready or till he gets flipped for a profit.
Yeah.
And as well, Bremer and Cabal can be eased back in without any pressure, because there are players who can actually play the roles. And Colomani, of course.
I think that the quality of these defenders that they bought, now of course January is a tougher period, I think they could have been of higher quality. However, the rating that I gave them, and Colomani and Costa really shot this rating up, a 7.
I gave them a 7 too.
The Phoenix. Agreeing as always.
Boring.
Fiorentina next, speaking of Fagioli. They've brought in Fagioli from Juve on a loan for 2.5 million, and then there's the obligation for 13.5 plus 3 million in bonuses. They've brought in Zaniolo on loan also from, technically from Galatasaray. Indur from PSG. Mari from Monza, Folorunsho from Napoli, and Valentini from Boca Juniors. They have parted ways, with Martinez Quarta, Icone, Sotil, Coyote, Christensen, Kwame, Valentini, so he's been loaned out immediately to Hellas Verona, and Biraghi, who is finally off, and he's off to Torino on a loan.
I think this was an extremely opportunistic market for Fiorentina. Once again, sniping the players that kind of don't really fit in at the moment, but are good overall. The same thing that they did in the summer. So keep mixing up the seasons here.
Hey. You replied to a comment on TikTok and you said, yes, this is definitely better than their winter market.
Yikes.
Yikes.
Yes, that was him. I think Zaniolo is worth a punt, honestly. It's not like he's going to be a starter. They have Beltran and Goodmanson who are thriving.
Especially if you get rid of Sotil.
Yeah, you get rid of Sotil, you bring in Zaniolo, why not? Worth a chance. Fagioli, I think, great rotation option. Might even fill that Bove role from the get-go.
Probably start
I think so.
In a few days.
It depends on how that Amir Richardson does, because I kind of like that guy. Huh? He's a good midfielder. Different mold, but depending on the fixture, Palladino does like to play to his opponent. Mari's good defensive depth because they need it.
For sure.
Folorunsho, for me, is their most important signing here, because they got a player who can play on the wing, who can play in the middle, who can be brought on as a solution in both looking for a winner or looking to close out a game, looking to defend, because he's industrious, he's hardworking, he's got a shot on him, he can score goals, he's very good. And then Valentini, of course, they're thinking about the future. They brought him in and he's instantly going to get playing time at Hellas Verona.
Yeah.
So he was loaned out over there, of course. And Ndour, of course, who's...
tell us a bit about Ndour.
He's 20 years old. He's from PSG. They spent 5 million on him. He's known to be dynamic, excellent ball control, solid passing. He hasn't had much top-tier experience yet, but his potential makes him quite an exciting addition. And the fact that he's not going to be heavily relied on can mean that they can ease him in a little bit.
What position does he play?
He's a midfielder, apparently, but I guess more of an offensive one.
Okay. I thought this was a fucking brilliant mercato by Fiorentina. Again, I think they've had another good mercato. And I think I'm saying again in the sense that I do think that they got a few deadweight players in from other teams, but judging by how Palladino's making them play with the likes of Keane and so on and so forth, they're not coming to mind right now. I think it was another successful Adli. I think it's been another successful market. I think they did a good job at removing deadweight. Looking at Ikone, Kayode, Kwame, and Biragi, I think it was due time for them to get out of the team and for them to bring in a new wave of players. Folorunsho, excellent signing. The fact that they got Mari is brilliant because they needed a defender. And just good signings all around for them. But the most important thing is that they brought in players who know the league. Mm-hmm. With the likes of, obviously, Zaniolo, Fagioli, Mari, and Folorunsho, which is excellent. They focused on midfielders, which is an area that they definitely needed to strengthen. And, obviously, that one centre-back was needed as depth because Komutso is still young, Pongracic can be a bit streaky, and Ranieri is a consistent starter. So bringing in another centre-back who knows the league is very important.
To replace Quarta as well.
And to replace Quarta as well. And also... 3 Italians out, 3 Italians in, which is good. If I have one criticism, same criticism that I had for Atalanta, I think they could use a vice for Keane.
Yes, but they do have some players who can do that.
Beltran and Goodmanson can play up top.
Beltran has especially Goodmanson is more of a false nine kind of thing. That's the equivalent of playing CDK for Atalanta.
Yeah.
One little thing. Coyote is a player I wish had stayed. He has been sent to Brentford. I think that he was unlucky because Fiorentina paid a lot for Dodo, so they had to play him. And the fact that Dodo has actually been playing very well. Coyote is young, of course. He's a great talent.
Yes. Sorry, I completely confused Coyote. Coyote is the young Italian right back.
Him with Kwame?
I did.
Okay.
And then I said Kwame.
Kwame is off to Empoli as well.
Yeah.
And Christensen, the goalkeeper, by the way, has been doing bits at Salernitana since joining. He's instantly become a fan favorite. Yeah, I was sharing them on our Instagram stories, bro. He has become a Salernitana fan favorite. Like,
you remember him?
Massive save.
Shootout,
I remember him, bro. He just goes cross-eyed, sticks his tongue out.
A lizard person,
literally. He's a good keeper. I think it really suits him. He's got that kind of crazy, eccentric personality that they love over there.
Yeah. Okay. So Coyote, that changes my rating by a 0.5.
For me, this is an 8.
I just put it down to a 7.5.
Okay, nice.
Because of the right back situation, epidemic, pandemic. I think that Dodo is great, but to give up now it's a loan to Brentford. I'm not sure if there's an obligation.
No, there is.
Yes,
there's something for he won't be going back.
It's a shame that they lost Coyote. I think 7.5, however, is a fair rating.
Definitely. Who's next?
Milan. So Milan, obviously, this has made worldwide headlines. The signings that Milan have made and the mercato that Milan have had. Milan have brought in Jimenez, Joao Felix, Walker, Bondo, and Sotil. And they have gotten rid of Morata, Romero, Okafor, Ben Nasser, Calabria, and Zeroli. Bro, what do you make of this?
I mean, where the fuck should I
let's start from here. Milan had a terrible mercato in summer.
Yes.
And ever since then, there have been protesting the ownership and wanting the ownership out.
Wanting the players to pull their ball.
Yeah, wanting a proper striker, wanting a sporting director, wanting a creative player that could play in the pocket behind the striker that is non-existent, getting a replacement for Fofana, getting a better right back than Emerson Royal. It was a disaster. What it looks like here is that the board have either learned from their mistakes or listened to what the supporters and the media has been saying. And I think as much as, oh, too little, too late. I don't think it's too little, too late. I think they made their fuck-ups, and I'm not forgiving the board until I see solid results and I see Milan in the top 4. But the signings of Walker, Jimenez, and João Felix are, like, I couldn't, as a fan, I couldn't dream of a January market as good as that. It is fucking excellent. Walker has come in and the defense is suddenly solid. Milan have a great defense, right? Of course, it's now Pavlovic alongside Tomori. That seems to be the preferred duo with Theo on the other side. But Walker, you see his intelligence. There was this video going around that Serie A posted where he knows when Reinders came down to put pressure on the winger, he went
and drops and tucks in as a centre
first
back.
post.
Yeah.
He goes to cover the first post. Yeah. Excellent. Just seasoned and excellent. Jimenez and João Felix are two phenomenal players. And of course, Jimenez scored 30 goals last season, but it's the Dutch league. He's 23. He's Mexican. If there was criticism, it would be that it's the Dutch league and who wouldn't score 30 goals in the Dutch league? Caposaurus Rex. Because this is the guy that scored 2 goals against Bayern Munich for Feyenoord, who just sacked their coach because they're not doing that great.
Who wouldn't score 30 goals in the Dutch league? Morata,
Tammy Abraham, either of them. Jimenez, excellent. João Felix. Oh, I don't like João Felix. You don't like João Felix. You don't like
football.
João Felix. If you don't like, literally, João Felix has been.
João el Football Felix.
Bro, João Felix, the outlook on João Felix has been hindered because he went to Barca during Barca's banter era, and he went to Chelsea during Chelsea's banter era. That's it. That's it.
So to give my take, which was very similar to yours, Walker. Look, the narrative with Walker was, you're getting a player who's finished, the space is done, whatever. This guy is coming from one of the top 3 teams in the world, if not the best team, the team that's been dominating England and that has recently won the Champions League, etc.
Recently won the treble.
You're bringing in a player who his teammates are already creaming about his work ethic.
Yeah.
When interviewed about it. He's a professional.
Because they haven't gone to the pub with him yet,
Exactly.
Then they'll talk about his work ethic.
I don't recommend it. From what I've read on Wikipedia, I don't recommend going to the pub with Kyle Walker.
Or marrying Kyle Walker, or dating him.
Or being a woman around Kyle Walker. Yes, but when it comes to the football pitch, he is a very, very professional player. He's very organized. He's constantly talking to his teammates.
Yes,
constantly
commending
talking.
them.
Yes, with Musa at one point. There was a game. He literally had Musa on his... Like by his side, and he was just guiding him the whole game.
Him and Tomori next to each other, that green chemistry link between them is excellent. Sorry to go FIFA, but it is the greenest chemistry link I've seen.
He helps organize the high defensive line as well, because City have spent so long playing with a high line.
Yeah.
And he's very experienced with that. In fact, against Inter scored 3 goals that were offside.
Yeah.
You know, that was probably his organization was a massive factor there. João Felix, I have a similar opinion to you. João Felix is that type of player that's a fantasista, as they call them in Italy. He has the ability to create something out of nothing and to see things that other players can't see, and to kind of come up with maneuvers that people wouldn't even think of.
He's phenomenal, and he's 25.
He loves holding the ball. He loves making himself available. That's one thing I noticed about João Felix, is he doesn't drift out of games. He's always available, and he's always where the ball is.
When you watch him come on against Roma, where he scored that delicious chip, it was João Felix and everyone else around him. He was in the center of the pitch, linking everything.
We're used to players like Leao drifting in and out of the game. Pulisic is very effective when it comes to the final maneuver. When it comes to, he'll get you a goal out of nothing.
Yeah.
He will. He's an end product type of player. While Joao Felix, man, drops deep, calls for the ball, advances, loves to move with it, 1-2s with his teammates, encourages, calls for the ball again, balls
He's
over
the
top.
secondary striker that Milan have been looking for.
Yes. I think that it was a massive coup, and to get him when he was unhappy at Chelsea was just a massive steal. And of course, he's gonna fall in love with Milan.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
already
only
happening,
problem.
apparently.
The only
Romano
problem is
tweeting that he wants to stay.
So yes, Romano has tweeted that Felix, because he up and said it, he said, I'm here on a dry loan, but if I could stay further than that, I would fucking love it. I'm already in love with the club, I'm in love with the city, and Kaká's my idol. Whisper that in my ear, Joao. Fucking, what are you talking about? The only problem with this deal is that it's a dry loan, but to be fair to the people that made the deal happen, they didn't have much time to negotiate the obligation or the option, right? So
Players
it
will,
is
brother.
It is what it is. I'm sure I saw one rumor that said a swap deal with Leao, which is absolute horsewank, considering that Joao Felix is around 35 to 40 million and Leao is God knows where, 80 to 100 million.
Yeah.
What do you think? So this is okay. So the players that left, have I already said them? Yes, I have.
Yes.
The only criticism that I have about this market, also, sorry, they brought in an Italian player. They got a Vice Fofana with Warren Bondo.
And that was, we should mention this. Benacer forced his way out at the end of the market, saying he wants to leave, piling a lot of pressure on Milan because he wanted to go to Marseille to work with De Zerbi. And Milan, I feel like
he was
really
always
well
a Marseille fan
to get Bondo, because Bondo has been a player Bondo is a player that has been on Milan's radar for a very long time now. It wasn't a panic buy. It was still calculated, and they utilized their connections with Galliani, and they made it happen. So I think the way they moved swiftly was very good.
Yeah.
Sotil is the confusing one. However,
Italian.
But no,
they
even
lose
Italian.
Okafor, you bring in someone. No, but
Yeah.
the Milan have how many Italians,
You're bringing in a
bro?
player
Allah,
who's-
the children, and then they're not even all Italian, and Gabbia. No, they lost Calabria. They needed to bring in an Italian player. It's already like Milan are closing in on Ricci. They've been closing in on Ricci.
I just like
and
the
whole
fact
thing
that,
is he's Italian.
that he's ready. That's it. Sotil is physically ready. He's
It's
been
true,
playing.
it's true.
He has actually been okay this season, not as bad as he
Scored
he
against
usually
Juve.
is. So I think he'll give some starters a bit of breathing room.
If I had to criticize one thing, it is that there are certain decisions that seemed a little bit erratic. And thankfully, none of these decisions went through. But at one point, it looked like Milan were ready to offload either Tomori or Pavlovic. And at a time, it kind of looked like they were considering both, which was bizarre to me. So I understand if you want to get rid of Emerson Royal, but you couldn't because of his injury, because Emerson Royal has been
For some reason you played
awful.
him.
He's Emerson Royal, in my opinion, the worst player I've seen wear a Milan kit. Genuinely, I think he's shit, bro. I think he's awful.
There have been
but
some.
Pavlovic should not be a part of that conversation. He shouldn't be put up there with Morata and Emerson Royal. Pavlovic started off quite well, and then we saw chinks in the armor because of his age and maybe the way he is as a footballer, his mold, and then they stopped playing him completely, and then they were trying to offload him. Now they're playing him, and he is the best. The best. Him and Tomori, they've been excellent. Tomori got a red card recently. It was okay, there's a shout that it should have been offside, but then there's that rule that because it was a yellow card, it was a second yellow, VAR couldn't intervene, but still, that is exactly what the problem with Tomori is, the way he lunges into challenges. Like, you're fast, you could have tracked back, why did you clart him?
I think that...
I still don't think they should get rid of him.
No, definitely not. Pavlovic especially. I think Tomori, if an offer from an English team comes in, that's lucrative.
Why are you whispering, man?
I don't know, I was just chill, you know. If an offer comes in from an English team to sign Tomori and it's somewhere around 35 to 40 million, fair enough, you know. But Pavlovic, I couldn't see the logic in it whatsoever. When it comes to them coexisting, I don't mind it for certain games. Tomori was bloody excellent against Inter.
Yeah.
I do think, however, that maybe putting Pavlovic next to someone with a bit of a cooler head might be beneficial. Someone like Gabbia. But we'll see. At least now there are options. There's so much.
It's good.
So much
I've
depth
seen
right
them
now,
all
Milan.
play next to each other, which is
There's
excellent.
so much
And
depth for
also, bro, the fact that like when Milan got a red card against Empoli, Walker played centre back, and he was excellent there.
And Conceição brought on, and he made an offensive move instead of making a defensive
big
one.
balls move.
Yeah. Next,
Rate it.
Rated 8.5.
9. Bro,
Yeah.
Jimenez, Joao Felix, Walker. That's almost
Honestly,
a 10.
yeah.
The only reason it's not a 10 is because there was this sense of unsettlement because of Pavlovic and Tomori, who are now the two favorite centre backs. It's crazy.
And because Calabria made me sad.
And Calabria did make me. Oh my god, that's how rude we are. Like Calabria, who spent his entire fucking life a Milanist.
18 years.
18 years. Of course, he wasn't up to standard as he used to be, because when he was coming up as a younger player, he was excellent and way ahead of his years. Unfortunately, we didn't see much of an improvement, particularly physically, which is quite disappointing. But it's so fucking sad. You look at it from an exchange perspective. Calabria going out and Walker coming in, you celebrate the rise in quality, but the second you see his car leaving Milanello, man, it's heartbreaking. Eh?
And another disappointment, Romero. Because Romero, for me, was a young player who showed flashes of extreme maturity over his years. So seeing him ending up at Cruz Azul, I mean, he's still young, but he was on the trajectory to become a potential crack.
I thought he was an investment, but they've let him go. So interesting.
Up next,
Bologna have signed Calabria on loan. However, there's an obligation. They've signed Pedrola from Sampdoria. What can you tell us about Pedrola, bro?
So Pedrola is actually a player who came through Barcelona's academy. He was picked up by Sampdoria and hit the ground running for them in his first few games. Scored 3 goals, but then kind of fizzled out, at least when it came to his output. Is he a player that's going to become an instant starter at Bologna? No. But I guess he's a long-term kind of.
The good thing is that it's an option to buy him. So they have the option.
I think Bologna, when it comes to their team, have a lot of depth already. They already rotate their team very heavily. I think they were planning on being inactive this market, but they saw an opportunity arise with Calabria. And it's not really a position that they need to strengthen desperately, because they have Holm, who's been doing very well there, and they have De Silvestri, who's also been doing quite well recently. But I think this was more of an opportunity that they couldn't really say no to. You're bringing in a 28-year-old Milan fullback, who was captain last season over there, and has so many Serie A games and so much Serie A experience. Yeah, I think for them it was an opportunistic market, and I'll give it a 6.
I gave it a 5. Just context also, they lost Posh to Atalanta, Carlson to Lecce, Urbanski to Monza, and Illing Jr. to Aston Villa. Again, the positives is, like you said, Calabria knows the league and he's a leader. Pedrola is young and the contract is an option to buy. They freed up the likes of Carlson and Illing Jr. And they're also getting Urbanski they're getting Urbanski some playing time at Monza, which is good. They didn't get a backup for Freuler, who they're so dependent on, and he plays every single game.
But that Freuler backup is probably going to be Ferguson. They have Ferguson, they have Pobega, who can all play that role. In a 6, bro. Ferguson's been playing in a 6.
Pobega can't move the ball like Freuler does.
No, he can't.
That's the whole thing. He's the metronome. You can't just put Pobega instead of him.
Fair enough. I mean, but in a double pivot, it kind of works with them, man. Because sometimes when I don't know, it's been kind of quite decent, their double pivot. I guess, to be honest, with Freuler, Let me pull it up quickly, because I was under the impression they had serious depth,
but not in a number 6 role.
Yes, you're probably Arbisher. would be that viceroy. I mean, he's no Freuler, you know what I mean? But
No.
but they have a bit of depth there. Yes.
Yeah, I gave them a 5.
Yeah, they have 2 starting 11s.
Yeah, no, they do. Especially those 3 behind the striker, bro. They have so many players there.
Yeah.
So many players. And so many new players, bro. Like Dominguez kind of came out of nowhere. Castro, the striker, he hasn't really come out of nowhere, but he came out of nowhere.
Cambiaghi.
Cambiaghi.
From Empoli.
Yeah. A cool team. Next up, Roma. Roma very busy as well. Roma, the team that are currently, when it comes to form in the league, they're ranked 2nd. They're on an upwards trajectory significantly since employing their 3rd manager of the season in Claudio Ranieri. Keep in mind they had an excellent mercato in the summer where they brought in some huge names, one of them being Dovbyk, who was one of the top scorers in Spain at the time. And with this up-and-coming team, great with his back towards goal and a bomber at the same time. Salemakers, Soule, just excellent signings. However, they started slow and now they've improved. And then in January, I just think that they had some maintenance to do because they've already made a lot of investments. I didn't think they had to do too much. Just a little bit of maintenance. What they've done is they've brought in Duath from Salzburg. He's a defensive midfielder. He's French and he's 21 years old. They've brought in Salah Edine from Twente. They've brought in Rensch, who's like a vice Salemakers on that side. Thankfully, that's
from
not...
Ajax, huh?
From Ajax, thankfully. He's quite highly rated. Thankfully, that vice for Salemakers isn't Zeki Celik anymore.
Yeah.
They've brought in Gollini from Atalanta, sure. And they've also brought in Nelson, who according... He's a centre-back. They got him from Galatasaray. According to my FM with Atalanta, who have great scouting, my scouts really wanted me to sign Nelson. That's all I can tell you.
There we go.
Who have they gotten rid of? They've gotten rid of Ryan. I mean, sure. Zalewski on loan to Inter. Dal on loan to Benfica. Lefay on loan to Sunderland. And Hermoso on loan at Leverkusen. What do you make of all this, bro?
I find it difficult because I'd be lying if I said I've watched these guys.
Duath, Rensch and Salahedine.
Yeah.
And Nelson.
No idea. However, I can say that they addressed some situations that weren't quite working out, like Lefay, Dal, Zalewski, and even Hermoso. And they've brought in new players to replace the ones that weren't working out.
Yeah.
So if 1 or 2 of these guys hit, they've already improved. So I guess I will give it 5.5 right now, 6 maybe at most, because I simply don't know, with the potential of being more or less, quite frankly, because I'm finding it very difficult because I don't know them enough, and then there's only so much you can tell from your research without watching them.
No, that's it. And for that reason, I gave them a 5 just because. To me, in January now, sure, a lot of these are long-term signings. Like the Rensch signing, it's an investment. Even the Salahedine and the Duat signing, they're all young. However, one thing that I've noticed with Roma is they often employ people that don't know the league, and that's exactly what they've done again over here. They've employed people that don't know the league. I think they've made depth signings, especially in the more defensive areas. They've removed Zalewski just because he wasn't doing too well. However, like you said, the names are kind of unheard of. They come from places that they don't know. They don't exactly know the league. And one thing that is also weird is that they have a similar thing to Milan, where they have players like Paredes and Pellegrini who are constantly in a limbo of in out, shake it all about. Paredes apparently wants out, and Pellegrini, we all know what his contract situation is at the moment. I'm not sure if there's an improvement or not, but we'll wait and see. A 5 is a safe bet.
And these players are highly rated from where they were bought from. So that's also a telling sign.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go for a 6. I'll give them a 6.
Okay, fair. Next up, Udinese, who have made one investment, and they signed Sole. And I've watched Sole, and
he's
Sole
wicked.
looks good.
Yeah, he's wicked.
6.
Not only 6, same here, bro.
6.
Not only is Sole solid defensively, bar the red card, of course, before I get memed. He is so good offensively. Like he is capable of dribbling, he's capable of attacking the box, and he's quite technical with the ball at his feet as well. So I'm a big fan of this Sole guy. That Toure experiment I think is over.
Yeah.
And I mean, solid signing for them.
They've lost Ebosele and Ebosse.
So it becomes a little bit easier to follow.
And they've kept... No, that doesn't work. I was going to make a joke. Because they lost Ebosse and Ebosele. No, I was going to say, and they kept Le. But it doesn't make sense because they lost the Le as well.
Yeah.
Yes, they've lost the pre-upgrade version and the post-upgrade version.
So, Sole was at Salzburg before. He played 78 games there and even scored 3
They
goals.
got him as like as a free agent.
Free. For free. What a signing.
Mm-hmm.
Sick.
6. Brilliant. Torino have had a cool market, and a pro of the bat is that they didn't end up losing Ilic because there was some...
So it's not over yet. Apparently the Russian transfer market, if I'm not mistaken, and he was linked to the Russian transfer market, closes, don't quote me, but on the 20th of February, something like that.
But can Torino sell until then?
Yes. It's over to buy, I believe.
Okay.
For these teams, but yes, he's still in limbo. There's some.
Okay, so
some
there's
crap.
still a limbo with Ilic at the moment. However, Torino have made some great moves in the market. They've got Salama from Reims, who I don't know too much about. They've brought in Biraghi, and we know that Torino like a left-footed left back, left centre back that can whip a ball in. So Biraghi's a good fit over there. And they've brought in Elmas and Casadei. And I love those signings because those signings completely address what was wrong with Torino in the sense that they weren't getting the ball in the box enough and creatively they were struggling. The only problem is that, so they've brought in these game changers. The only problem is they lost Dufan Zapata through the injury and they didn't bring in a striker to kind of fill in that gap.
However, it has been addressed differently, right? The team was built with Dufan Zapata in it to kind of be a powerhouse to cross the ball into Dufan with no flashy bullshit, essentially. They had absolutely no creative players in that team, but players who were functional to serve Dufan Zapata. With him out, and with the signings of Elmas and Casadei, they can service players like Sanabria and Shea Adams much more, because Sanabria and Shea Adams play off their teammates, right? Especially Shea Adams. Shea Adams is going to have a great time, I think, with Elmas, for example.
And I think the midfielders are going to get more goals because Shea Adams drops in quite deep and he's very intelligent.
Yes.
He's got great vision. And he's such a thinker. He's always scanning and he knows what's around him. So the fact he's going to be playing Elmas in for days, bro.
And Casadei too.
I'm hoping. I still think they need that one big target, man, because at this point, is it ideal to have Sanabria and Shea Adams as your two options up front?
But it wasn't urgent, I think. I think Dufan Zapata's ACL was months ago. So you're looking at a player who will return soon at some point.
So a loan, maybe a dry loan for 6 months.
Could be, but then again, you brought in Shea Adams last
year.
Could
they not have gotten Juric ahead of Parma, for example, and that would have been something?
I think it would have been something that would have made Sanabria and Shea Adams unhappy, and there's no need to make Sanabria and Shea Adams unhappy.
They don't have to completely start Juric all the time. I mean, these guys decided to be with the team when there was Dufan. 6 month dry loan or something, bring in a striker, because it has to be addressed. Torino started off the season brilliantly with Dufan Zapata up front. Dufan Zapata got injured. Now, of course, that's not the only thing that happened. That's not the only factor of their drop off, but they've dropped off since then, and they've lost a form of their identity. Having Dufan, who was doing so well, now at least Shea Adams is doing well, but he's a very different mode of striker. They're working around him and they're making it work. But just to have that other solution up your sleeve. I mean, you lose a player with a devastating injury for the majority of the season. Ideally, you bring in someone to fill in those boots a little bit.
I think that it wasn't exactly
Sorry,
pressing.
Salama is a striker, but it's Salama, which
Salama.
I don't know too much about.
In fact, I think he was just brought in as a depth option up front, so maybe this is the Juric. Look him up. Look up his qualities. Salama. Let's take a look here.
Salama, Torino.
Because I do think that this transfer market was a very successful one for Torino, because they got rid of Voivoda and upgraded over there potentially with Biraghi. To be honest, I think Voivoda had plateaued at Torino, and Biraghi could use a new lease of life. And Elmas and Casadei just changed the entire dynamic around Torino, and maybe I think Casadei would be a good fit for Vanoli as well, with what he wants to do with his kind of touch and go approach. What can you tell us about this Salama?
So he can also play on the left, but he's more of a striker. I'm not really finding good data on him, unfortunately.
How tall is he, for example? What's his...
192 centimeters.
He's a giant.
So he's quite big. He's 24 years old. He weighs 82 kilograms.
Nice.
Almost
as much as Okafor. You saw someone change his Wikipedia. Okafor, they wrote 100 kilos on their weight.
Oh my god.
He's getting memed to oblivion.
Brilliant. No, I do think it's a positive market, bro, for the simple reason that they brought in Casadei, who's one of the most exciting Italian talents that I've seen. I'm seeing him play for the under-21s. Him and Pafundi used to blow my fucking mind. I love that signing, and the Elmas signing. For that reason, and also Biraghi ahead of Voivoda is also a good move. I'd give this a 7.5.
Nice. I gave it a 7.
I had more bad things to say than you, but I rated them higher.
That's bizarre. Okay.
Well, I'm just being critical. It's when you bring in good players, it's great, but did you bring in the players that you need? They brought in players that they need, but I thought that they left one area out.
Fair enough.
Fair to address. Next up, Genoa. Genoa. They were in trouble. Genoa.
They were in trouble.
They're no longer in trouble now. They've shot up the table, bro.
With the signing of
Vieira. When they got Vieira. Bless you, King. Don't do that. You'll explode. But Genoa. So
I'm trying to grow my hair back.
they needed. So they brought in their new manager, and now they have a market with their new manager. A manager that has influence, that could bring players in. And the first market where the board can actually, the 777 group, can listen to Vieira, say, Vieira says, I need this player. It's
and not 7-7 anymore now, it's that...
of course,
that's
it's the Romanian guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, Romanian dude. But yes, Genoa, so they've brought in Ellertson and they've loaned him out back to Venezia immediately. They brought in Ottawa from Aalborg for 2.75 million. He's a centre-back. They brought in Quencha from Milan Futuro. He can play in various roles behind the striker, attacking mid or right winger. They've brought in Onana from Besiktas. He's a defensive midfielder, which is definitely an area that they needed to address. And they've brought in Cornet, who most of us know can play attacking midfielder and also right winger.
Surely it's Cornet.
Cornet. They've gotten rid of Marcandalli to Venezia, Pereiro to Bari, Vogliacco to Parma, Bohinen to Frosinone, and Gollini to Atalanta. What do you make of this, bro?
I like it, to be honest. It's not...
There's a bit of who are bros.
They're taking a punt on this Quencha, whatever his name is, from Milan Futuro. Sure, why not? It's not like they have many offensive options. I think Cornet is a lovely addition. Almost a FIFA manager mode kind of addition.
Yeah.
You'd never expect him
Could be
to
sloppy
end up
as a
at
player.
Genoa. He can be sloppy.
He's
yes, but he
already
has a lot
missed
of
a sitter
experience.
for them.
He was great at Lyon. Wasn't as great at
In
West
the
Ham.
Prem, yeah.
But now he's at Genoa, and I think he has lots of. He has the opportunity to express himself a little bit more. Surely they must see something in this Ottawa guy, because to replace Volyako with him is very brave, because I rate Volyako as a player. I like him.
Same.
So, I don't know, 6 for me.
I give them a 5.5 because who are they? Like, I think they definitely made the moves that they needed to, but I don't know who they are, so I can't rate it that highly. Also, it's good to see a few Milan Futuro players get a move to the bigger leagues, man.
To the bigger teams.
To the bigger teams and bigger leagues.
Bigger leagues, you're right, actually, because Futuro is, good.
This guy, huh? Next up, Cagliari. Cagliari, who made 2 signings. They brought in Koman from Al Arafa, and they brought in Caprile from Napoli, the goalkeeper. They've gotten rid of Vietesca, Azzi, Lapadula, and Scuffè. Scuffè, of course, the swap deal with Napoli. Can I just say, they made 2 signings, Cagliari, but 2 huge upgrades. Caprile has been a wall for them in goal. He's been one of the most improved keepers. When I say improved, because we didn't watch him before. Like, literally, he was rotting on the bench for Napoli.
Where was he before now? It was at Empoli. He was at Empoli, right? I
think he was.
He was really good there.
Yes, bro. Yes. He's a top keeper.
Yeah.
And Koman, I didn't know anything about him, but the first time I saw him touch the ball, he scored. And he scored a banger for them, bro. He can play in on the left. He could play striker. Bro, 7 for me. Because 2 moves, I saw, there's a Conte quote somewhere in my brain, man.
About the goalkeeper and the attacker.
The goalkeeper and the striker. You can choose something like, you can choose your wife, but you can't. No, I don't know it. Whatever. I'll look it up.
Conte, wife, goalkeeper, striker. You should Google.
But yeah, what do you think of their market, bro?
I think similarly to you, to be honest. I think they brought in a goalkeeper who's super solid and can make the difference in many games for Cagliari and help keep them up. And to be honest, it was getting a little bit stale with Lapadula and Pavoletti up front as the options. I think having one of those guys...
and Petagna.
Might as well be nowadays, the same age. He's at Monza, which is hilarious, like, considering the player they signed. We'll get to it eventually. But this Koman guy is quite prolific, man. He was with Steaua Bucharest, where he had 190 appearances and scored 53 goals, not bad. And the season when he was signed, he was at Al Arafa, as you said. He was on 12 appearances and 3 goals over there. So, and the second I watched him, bro, he looked so lively and so aggressive in the way he plays. So I think it'll be very useful for Cagliari. Man, Cagliari, remember, have Luvumbo Zito, who's going to come back from injury now, who's going to be like a new signing. Felici, who came out of nowhere and is improving game by game. So I don't think they needed essentially much in the market.
No.
They're quite a tightly run unit. The players understand what they need to do. Now it's just a matter of getting the job done with the players you have. And I like this market for them as well, 6.5.
You can pick the wrong wife, but you can't afford to pick the wrong goalkeeper and striker. That was the quote that came from a guy that Conte used to work with, not by Conte directly. You gave them a 6.5?
Yeah.
I gave them a 7. I think they made 2 huge upgrades in the goalkeeper and striker departments, and I also think that...
But he's a winger, this Coman, remember?
But he can play striker. And I believe in that game he came on as a striker, where he scored.
He was definitely drifting centrally, so I wouldn't be surprised.
Very good.
Yes.
I think they could use more upgrades across the board, is a note that I made, which maybe inhibits them from getting a bigger rating, or a better rating rather, but 7. Next up, we have Lecce. Lecce. They brought in Gianpaolo. They're doing a little bit better, but they're there. They're in the mix of relegation, Lecce. They've brought in a good mix of attacking and defensive options here. They brought in Indri from OH. Here we go, by the way, guys. We've entered that territory now.
Where players are like 1 million or under.
Exactly. They've brought in Indri, Gabriel, Vega, and Carlson from Bologna.
And we know Carlson.
Yes, we know Carlson. And didn't Vega go to fucking Juve? What's this? It's a different one, of course. It's more the players that left, bro. Dorgu and Udon, who Udon's good, you know. Last year I thought he was their best player. He was just playing less and less. You're right. Hassa has gone to Napoli. Now here's the thing with Hassa. I have never watched Hassa play, but he came up through the ranks at Juve, went to Lecce, and within 6 months ended up at Napoli. You're telling me this guy isn't a good player?
He must be, but
He
why
must
wouldn't
be.
he have been playing at Lecce if he's so good?
I don't know, bro.
It's
I don't
bizarre.
know. But why would Napoli get him in that case?
For 500k.
For 500k.
I think that
And Bonifazi to Sassuolo.
the best thing about Lecce's market was the money they made on Dorgu. That's all capital gains. However, it wasn't reinvested, which makes me think that they think they have enough to survive. Very risky. We'll see, because getting relegated is detrimental. You lose your best players for a fraction of their value.
Yeah.
So this is definitely risky business over here. This Indri guy is a winger who can score goals. Apparently, he's dangerous in one-on-one situations and can add unpredictability. So it would be interesting to see where he slots in on this Lecce team. They have Pierotti shining as well nowadays, so maybe another kind of...
Who's shining, sorry?
Pierotti. So another
It's true,
kind
it's
of unpredictable
That's why
player
you
behind the
got
striker.
them on Fanta.
Yeah. Gabriel is a centre-back from the Portuguese league.
So
and
Gabriel and Vega,
they're both from the Portuguese
they
league,
got
right?
them from the same team, from Estrela Amadora. And this team is 16th. They're in the relegation zone. And they're 2 defenders. And they've conceded the third most in the league. They've conceded 34 goals.
Not a good look, but they're young at least. So I guess they maybe took them. They saw an opportunity there. To be honest, bro, for me, this market by Lecce is a 6 simply because of the massive financial gain they made.
Literally. Dorgu is good. 30 million by United. It's United. I think Lecce did a good job to get 30 million from him. For him. Indri Filipe Coffee looks like a player that's just going to add something offensively. Carlson will add something offensively as well, and they've brought in these 2 defenders. Of course, they're of the caliber that I mentioned, bottom tier Portuguese league defenders. But I think they addressed good areas, 2 offensive options, 2 defensive options.
This is a team that definitely needed a vice striker.
Definitely needed a vice striker. However, I don't think they needed a direct Dorgu replacement, and it's like they replaced him with 2 players, right? They replaced him with a winger and a right back.
Yeah.
So it's like they hit 2 birds with 1 stone.
I'm curious to watch Indri. We'll see how he does. Lecce playing it a little bit risky over here with their market.
Perhaps a striker was needed, but I think a 6 would be fair. Next up, we've got Hellas Verona. Hellas Verona have brought in 2 centre backs and a defensive midfielder, with Slotsager, Valentini, Bernede, and they've gotten rid of Belayan and Silva, who went to Midtjylland, and also Magnani, who went to Palermo. Can I be honest? Disaster, in my opinion.
But this is
by Hellas Verona.
Classic Verona.
But I can't give them such a low rating because there's probably Pelé somewhere.
Like probably Slotsager's 30 million next season to Napoli.
It's probably like, bro, who was in Ganj?
Yeah, who was Noslin?
Who was Noslin?
Yeah.
But they bring these guys in and they do a good job.
Who was
so I
Rahmani, who was Amrabat, was
Any of
all
these guys. Any of these
honestly.
guys. So I can't be overly critical, but I gave them a 4.5 because they lost Belayan, Silva, and Magnani when they're going through a relegation battle, right?
Yeah, this time it was the Swiss and the Danish league that they raided for Slotziger from the Danish league and Bernede from the Swiss league. They've brought in two defenders, one on loan and one signed, and a defensive midfielder, which in theory kind of addresses the needs of the team.
They definitely needed defensive players, because they have
Yes.
a gaping hole the size of Zanetti's asshole, because that's what Zanetti does. Zanetti, at the start of every game, he goes to the center of the pitch, he bends over, he opens up his asshole, he sticks 4 fingers total in, widens his asshole and coughs as much as he can to just widen it as much as possible and says, fuck me.
What the fuck? What the fuck?
Verona,
Are you okay?
bro, Verona have the worst defense in the league by a landslide. And you see teams do the exact same thing over and over and over again for 90 minutes. And they keep getting the same results, which is scoring and getting past the defense. And sometimes there needs to be some goalkeeper heroics. And Zanetti doesn't change anything. Zanetti is like, we're going to play our game. All right, dog. Like, congratulations. Keep playing your game. You're literally going to get this team relegated.
It's true.
Guys, you get my analogy. You know how Zanetti likes being penetrated.
Everything you said is totally true. I agree with the fact that Verona have been selling and downgrading for a very long time. These signings that they make, these obscure ones, can be easily criticized. However, they do have a thing going for them when it comes to these scouting networks that they kind of deploy, bro. Because I don't know where they keep finding these players, but somehow it works for them. For me, from here, from my studio, our studio, 4.
4.5.
Nice.
Just with the 0.5 is trust that they know what they're doing.
They lost their greatest asset, Belayan.
Yeah.
Which makes me think maybe they're worried about relegation and losing it for half that price.
The only player remaining from that Verona is Lazovic, bro.
And he's a bit washed.
Yeah. No, he's definitely washed. Como up next. Okay. I forget that Como are this bloody low down. Who did Como sign? Oh, only Kakeret, Duvikas, Diao, Vojvoda, Butez, Azon, Smolcic, Ikone, Valle, and Dele Alli. And they tried to get Theo Hernandez for 40 million.
For 54 million, apparently Milan accepted and Theo said no, is what
Milan
everyone is
accepted.
saying. Bro, everyone who went to that bloody concert. Everyone.
Crazy.
Okay, so let's obviously I say that in jest, the concert thing itself. It's
Yeah.
just a meme. So Kakere, a very technically gifted midfielder with a high work rate, very creative, very exciting. What a signing with Nico Paz in the middle. Duvikas is from Celta Vigo. He's a clinical striker who adds goal scoring threat, and he's excellent in link up play, and he's a very high IQ striker. Literally what Fabregas wants. Diao is versatile. He can play on the wing. He can play up front.
Yeah, he has 2 goals.
He's got 2 goals. He hit the ground running at Como. He is a lovely addition. On the opposite side is Fadera, because those are 2 very tricky wingers. Vojvoda, they're bringing in a player with solid experience as a backup. Potentially can even compete for a starting spot. Butez is a reliable goalkeeper with European experience. Expected, I think, to compete for that number 1 spot.
We've seen 2 sides of him, because he gave away a dodgy penalty against Juve, and he didn't have the best game over there.
Yeah. And then there's Azon, who's a young striker to add depth, probably, and to think of the future a little bit.
Well, Azon actually, Duvikas and Azon are both modern strikers who both came in for deep link-up play. However, Duvikas is more known for his off-the-ball movement, and Azon is known for his pressing. So I think there's a world where Duvikas starts the game and then they bring on Azon, or they choose.
But
depending
Azon's
on
younger,
the
isn't
fixtures.
he?
22, and Duvikas is 25.
Okay, yes, exactly. So Interesting. Ah, man. I guess they got rid of Bellotti. So Azon, I guess, would be their third choice behind Cotrone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
I don't know. Cotrone also gives you a lot of press and league experience. So it's difficult to drop him, I think, the third choice.
I've never seen Azon, so I couldn't tell you. But I definitely think that Duvikas is the starter.
Number one. Agreed.
They've removed a bunch of players as well. And they're all Italian. They lost 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or 8, 7 Italian players. Barba, who went to Sion. Cerri, who went to Salernitana.
Hit the ground running as well.
Yep. Mazzitelli to Sassuolo. Verdi to Sassuolo. Audero to Palermo, Belotti to Benfica, and Mazzitelli to Frosinone.
Mm-hmm.
2 Mazzitellis.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Just to quickly wrap up the signings they made, Ikone, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Ikone we know what he can give you. He's a tricky winger. He's very good at beating his man and attacking the space. However, his end product is super inconsistent.
Disastrous, yeah.
And he's looking for a fresh start.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in a system like Fabregas, where he won't have to try to score the goals himself, or maybe he'll have a few more solutions in that final third, it can benefit him and his lack of maybe decision making. Because he won't actually have to make the decision himself, he'll be pre-programmed to make it in advance. Then there's Valle from Barcelona, who's a talent for the future, and Dele Alli, bro, the wild card signing. I can't wait to see him.
I can't wait to see him either. I have no idea what to expect, to be honest, because we've seen 2 completely different sides. We've seen a player that looks like the next big 100 million English midfielder, because there are so many of them. I definitely thought that at this point he'd be starting for England in the Euros and in the World Cup. That's the caliber of player he was. Very versatile in midfield. Obviously, we all know his situation. Both from a performance and off the field perspective, he's been through a fuck ton, and he's nowhere near that level of player that he was. But let me tell you what, man, there is that player in there. That player doesn't simply leave. Bro, when you would have played football at a nursery, and then you go kick a ball for the first time again after 5 years at 12 years old, there's muscle memory there. Mm-hmm. Let alone if you would have been doing it at that level for that long. He has it somewhere in him. Mm. Is Como the place for him to bring it out? To get somewhere close to where he was? I don't think, personally, that he could be at a better place to start loving the game again. With this project, with someone that he admires in Fabregas, someone that he would have grown up watching. I have, to be honest, high hopes for him.
I wish I could say the same. However, I don't see him doing very well at Como, personally. We'll see. I mean, the muscle memory is there, but there's an element of sharpness and fitness and mental strength and fortitude that comes into it. That it takes time. It takes time, and it takes years to build it, and a very short time to lose it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. We'll see how he does, but I don't have high hopes. In fact, I didn't even consider him on any fantasy.
No, I didn't either, because it's wild card in that
maybe
sense.
Maybe next year, I mean, but not this season. I think.
But even if there was somewhere I would insert him to find his passion and love for the game, with not too much on the line with Como, because they're probably not gonna battle relegation and they're somewhere in the mix. Like, I think he's definitely in a good place. I gave their mercato an 8, bro, because they are absolutely stacked with talent now, and it just seems like their recruitment is intelligent recruitment, because firstly, this kind of, they go for a certain kind of player, and that kind of player is a technical player. They only go for technical players, with the exception of Ikone. Otherwise, you look around you, just very technically sound and gifted players, and I think they all fit his system.
Absolutely, yes. Yes, I gave it an 8.
You gave it an 8 as well?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Next up, we have Empoli. Empoli, who have acquired Silvestri from Sampdoria, welcome back to Serie A King, and Kwame from Fiorentina, which is a better signing than a lot of people think. And they lost Perizan to Sampdoria and Ekong to Malmo. I think the pros for this is that Silvestri is a decent keeper and Kwame offers attacking flair. And they have a bunch of injuries up front at the moment. And they also struggle to get goals. He knows the league and he's good.
Pellegrini is injured.
Mm-hmm.
So Colombo and the Esposito need a bit of competition.
Yeah.
/ backup. Kwame is a great player for that. He's not exactly a clinical finisher, but he can cause a lot of havoc up front, and in his stride, he can be a very dangerous player as well, especially if he finds his confidence there. I think Empoli are in a similar situation to Cagliari, where they're quite solid when it comes to the foundation. However, they're missing a little bit when it comes to that offensive department. However, I do think that Cagliari are a little bit more stacked and they have more options, and that is why I would give Cagliari a 6.5 and Empoli a 5. For me, they needed a bit more than this. They needed a player to kind of create, to supply those strikers.
They definitely, they're thin in midfield. And with this whole Fazzini up in the air.
Fazzini's constantly, he's been quite unavailable this season, because he's a player who could serve these guys, but he's
I think they
not
definitely needed more midfielders. I think they're quite thin in defense as well. Bless them, they have a great defense, but they're very thin over there. I gave it a 5.5, just a 0.5 more than you, because I do think the Kwame signing is being a little bit slept on. He was doing a shift at Fiorentina up until recently.
He's good. He's a good player. He's a good player.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very nice. Next up, we've got Parma. Parma have made a few acquisitions. They've brought in Marcone as a goalkeeper and Pellegrino, who's a centre forward. They've brought in Ondrejka from Anversa for 7 million. They've brought in Lovic from Molde for 6 million. Juric from Monza and Vogliacco from Genoa. The only player that they lost is Koulibaly to Leicester, who, from the little that we saw, Jake and I are actually fans of Koulibaly. But since then, he's been kind of out of favour.
So Matthias, our patron, gave us a bit of information about Ondrejka, his fellow countryman. He described him as a pacey left winger with strong dribbling skills, can shoot with both feet, and he has good football IQ. He is better on the counter than in possession phase, and that screams Parma to me.
Yeah.
He can play on either flank, he offers creativity and direct attacking play. He was a good backup he's a good backup for Mann now, since Mann didn't leave. You know, so he would have been the replacement for Dennis Mann, I guess, because he was linked to Fiorentina and whatever. But now they actually have both of them, which is very promising for them. Ondrejka can kind of come in slowly and take his time to settle. Lovic wasn't cheap.
No.
For Parma standards, that's
6
quite
million.
a lot. Yes, even Ondrejka, 7
they've
million.
spent 13 million here.
Good technical ability and work rate, can contribute in both defensive and attacking phases, making him a well-rounded addition. Juric offers great hold-up play and set pieces. However, the problem is he's already injured. But I did like him at Parma. He has offered them a new dynamic completely. And Vogliacco I like.
I like
Vogliacco, despite the own goals he's been scoring. So I think this has been a decent mercato for Parma.
Yeah, I gave it a 6.5 because they signed in a variety of positions. You know, they got Juric as a striker, they got a centre back in Vogliacco, they got Ondrejka who's more of a winger, Lovic who's a left back, a goalkeeper Marcone Pellegrino who's a centre forward who I don't know too much about him. He's still young. If you can pull up some information on Pellegrino, it would be brilliant. I think I sent you a piece on him on WhatsApp. The cons, and then I just have a joke over here, is that they still have Pecchia. And with Pecchia, it doesn't seem like they'll ever take full control of a game, but they'll rather be just in there and adapting. But I do think they made good signings. And I think they invested, which is a good thing to see. I gave them a 6.5. I think it was more positive than negative, this transfer window.
Pellegrini is a bloody bomber, bro.
Yes?
Yes, in the Argentinian league, he goes crazy, he goes hard. Look at this. He's got 1, 2. Assist. Wait a second. I'm far down. Look at this.
It's a bomber,
So,
bro. 2 goals in 18.
Goal, penalty, goal, assist, goal, penalty, goal, penalty, goal. He scores a bit. He's a
Good track
prolific scorer.
record in Argentina.
He is 23 years old, 192 centimeters, left-footed. Quite an exciting player, I think. We'll see.
Interesting.
Coming from Argentina, it might take
Interesting,
some time to...
the fact that, but is he a striker, right? Not like a center.
He operates literally his season heat map in the box and just
Because
behind
now
so I
up
think he
front,
can play anywhere in the offensive part. Last season he had 10 goals.
Okay. Because now up front they have Boni, Juric, and Pellegrino.
I guess this would be good because Juric obviously can't rely on his fitness completely. And Bonnie has some competition like this.
Very good.
Well.
Yep, so 6.5. You gave them a 6.
I gave them a 6, yes.
Very good. Venezia, up next.
Venezia had Ben Yedder their last game watching on.
Really?
Yeah, he might be going. He might actually be joining
Oh
them.
my god, if it was 2017, I'd be freaking out.
He looks a bit chunky, yeah?
Yes.
He looks a bit, like he's been chilling or stress eating about some controversy in his life, you heard?
No. You'll tell me later.
I'll tell you
It's
later.
not
It's not
podcast-friendly,
podcast friendly,
unlike
no.
my Zanetti breakdown, unlike
Apparently,
my Zanetti analysis.
some DV,
Yes.
yeah, cases.
Wanker.
Ben Yedder, another asshole.
Venezia. So Venezia have signed a few players as well. They've gotten the likes of Fila, who's a striker. It's his first experience out of Czech Republic. He's 22 years old. They've brought in Conde, who's a centre midfielder, quite good with the ball at his feet. They've got Perez from Valladolid, Zerbin from Napoli, Radu from Inter. Of course, they've got Ederson back on loan, and they also have Marcandalli from Genoa. Of course, they lost Poyampalo, who went to Palermo for 4.7 million. I don't think he quite cut it in Serie A. Candela to Valladolid and Altare to Sampdoria.
So everyone's going crazy. All the Venezia fans are saying, "Oh my God, he sold our Doge, our Dogie, whatever the hell they call him, the OGE." It was Poyampalo's nickname.
You sold our dog.
He sold our dog. I didn't think Poyampalo was exactly having the best time in Serie A, and to be honest, I think he was isolated most of the time and a little bit behind when it came to actually his movement in the box as well. So I think selling him to Palermo and actually making some money from him at his age is quite decent. Candela going to Valladolid isn't bad either, because he hasn't been doing great in Serie A. He offers a lot of energy, but he's quite error prone and was responsible for quite a few goals.
Yep.
And I think that Fila can potentially be a very good player. It's true, it's his first experience out of the Czech Republic. And in 84 appearances, he scored 23 goals in the Czech Republic, which isn't exactly a crazy bomber, you know. But for his age, 22 years old, I think it's worth a punt.
They instantly made him a starter, which is kind of controversial.
Nice. But it's nice to see, because you bring in a player like that, you want to show him that we believe in you. And one signing that's being slept on, apart from, of course, Zerbin, who has already done very well for Venezia, is Perez from Valladolid, bro. 27 years old. In this current season across La Liga and Copa del Rey, he's made 22 appearances, scored 4 goals, and provided 1 assist. He can play on the wing or as an attacking midfielder. He's known for his dribbling and his technical ability. He has an eye for key passes, making him a creative option. So I do think that they've improved.
No, it's tough. It's tough.
And Conde, has 77 appearances for Zurich as well, so he's used to being a starter and playing a key role.
No, they've made good signs. Even like Radu, for example, I rate Radu. I know he made that error, and he's made more than one error. He made an error his first Serie A game for Cremonese as well, when Fiorentina, that crazy 4-3 game. That had won us a bet, bro. That had won us a bet. Fucking hell, I would go mental. They made good moves. I think the striker is a little bit of a risk. I like that they're bringing in Fila and showing faith in him. The question is, will he be in Serie B next season as a result of that decision? I think they could have used this market in summer because they did close to nothing in summer and everyone was complaining about that. But at least they're making moves over here. And, Zerbin is a great signing. Perez, who's 27 years old from Valladolid, he has some experience. Conde, like you said, and Fila, they bring in something fresh, something new. And they didn't lose too many players, apart from Poyampalo. 5.5.
6.5. Yeah. That's the biggest disagreement so far.
Yeah. Well, I think we had another one that had a one deficit.
discrepancy,
Yep.
yeah.
I think we're going to agree on this one, bro. The final team. We're in
Monza.
really good time, bro. We have 10 minutes left.
Amazing. Holy
This
shit.
is the best we've ever been, ever. Monza. Who did Monza bring in? Monza brought in Ganvula.
Who has the
From-
potential to be my favorite player in the league.
True. He's the striker from Young Boys.
Let me explain Ganvula in a nutshell for you.
Okay.
Technically, extremely limited.
Mm.
Big brick shithouse.
Yes.
Scores tap-ins and simple goals. Goes mental and backflips when he scores them. That's a celebration. Love it. Into my veins, bro.
Bring him in.
Bring him in. Okay.
Bronson from Mjällby, Sweden. He's a centre-back. Castrovilli from Lazio. Akpa
Nice.
Akpro from Lazio. Zeroli from Milan/Milan Futuro. Palacios, of course, Zeroli on loan. Palacios on loan from Inter. He's a centre-back from Inter. He's Argentine.
Palacios
Urbanski.
is an attacking player. Capable of playing many different attacking roles, I believe.
Did I make an
I
error
think so.
here?
Continue, I'll check it out.
Urbanski on loan from Bologna and Lekovic, who they got from Stella Rossa. Now, when it comes to the signings, I don't hate them. They brought in some, I know there's the argument of, but they're just developing young players for other
No,
people.
you're
For
right.
other
Sorry, bro. He's totally a centre-back. I have the wrong information here.
fucking roasted asshole. Palacios, the Argentine centre-back from Inter. I think, bro, Urbanski is a good signing. I think Zeroli is good. I think, yeah. Palacios can do something. Lekovic. But this is the thing. The reason their rating is going to be so low is because who did they get rid of?
Yeah.
Maldini, Juric, Mari, and Bondo.
And Cranio.
Cranio.
Yeah.
They got rid of, don't get it twisted, their best players. Their best players.
It's true.
They
Absolutely. 100%.
kept Pessina and they kept Dani Mota.
I like Akpa Akpro as a replacement for Bondo. He's not
Yes.
as good, obviously, but it's
He had a
it's,
great
it's
season
doable.
at Empoli, I believe.
You're getting rid of Maldini and replacing him with two players, hoping that one of them can, or three players, hoping that one of them can kind of give you that offensive flair that you're missing with Maldini, in Castrovilli, in Zeroli, and in Urbanski, because they
Yeah.
can all play that kind of offensive role. And then Ganvula is just not quite Juric when it comes to his experience, but he fits the same mold. The aerial presence, big, not quite as refined in the build-up play, but he can hold up play and can be a threat in the box. And he does have experience playing at a decent level with young boys. So I'm not sure this was exactly a very promising market from Monza. In fact, it's my lowest rating. I gave it a 3.5.
I gave them a 3.
A 3, yes, simply because there were no clear upgrades and too many risks for a team that's at the bottom.
I can't wait to watch Palacios, Urbanski, and Zeroli.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch them playing alongside each other. You know, you've got a Bologna promising player, an Inter promising player, and a Milan promising player all coming together and playing football at a team that's battling relegation. It's cool. But you can't be last place. Last fucking place in the league. You sack your manager, bring in a guy with a shit record, sack him, bring back the old manager, and you sell Maldini, Bondo, Mari, Juric, and Cranio. It's a complete fucking disaster. They could have brought in anyone and it would have been a bit of a failure over here because there's no clear upgrades. You'd think if they're getting rid of those players, they're going to make... Okay, they made 24. They made 25.8 million, and they didn't really reinvest it. Clearly,
No,
they're in financial problems, and they just looked for a quick fix over here. Bring in players on a cheap, bring in players on loan, and sell your best players. And that is exactly what gets you relegated.
Yes, bro, it is.
You know what's... Sorry.
Go on.
Some of these players, like the young boys guy, Ganvula, and Lekovic from Red Star, they have European experience, which helps them be a bit more
yes.
dynamic and experienced.
Yes, we'll see with Nesta back and everything. There's a new Monza, essentially. We'll see what they do. My worry as well when it comes to lone players is if a lone player has the opportunity to pass the ball and confirm a goal or to take a shot. Now, I know this totally depends on the player and the culture of the team and the coach, whatever. But I don't trust a lone player trying to make a name for himself to save my club fully.
Not fully.
I don't fully
I
trust
get what
that.
you mean, but not completely either. Because if you have on your CV that you helped that team avoid relegation, you don't need to be the guy with the winning goal. If they're like, they avoided relegation after they got these players and they look at those players and your name is there, you could do it humbly and gracefully. But then it depends on the player, right? And the vibe and the manager and everything, just the way that everything is.
Who are you most looking forward to of all these players, bro? From all these arrivals, who are your top 5 that you will be
in the
keeping
league?
an eye on? Yeah, in the league.
Well, there's definitely Joao Felix and Jimenez are there.
Yes.
I can't not put them there. What a question. I like Belayan at Lazio. I can't wait to see him.
Maldini at Atalanta. But even though he has an injury.
Fagioli at Fiorentina. And there's so many. There's Foloruncio at Fiorentina. Of course, there's Colomwani.
Duvikas and Ganvula, I can't wait to watch.
And Duvikas.
Duvikas is the Fabregas tailored striker to jog your memory.
Yes.
So
Duvikas, Jimenez, Joao Felix, Fagioli.
Dele Alli, Maldini, Belayan.
Who was my other one? Belayan.
Nice. Cool.
You? Your 5?
Duvikas, Ganvula, Joao Felix, Maldini, and Jimenez. It has to be Jimenez.
Of course.
Milan haven't splashed on a striker
Since
like this
Piontek.
in so long. Yes.
You're seeing there's the... this can go two ways. It can either go Kaká Shevchenko or it can go...
Piontek Paqueta. Yeah, literally. Dude, Piontek was the most gassed I've been in.
They let him go prematurely.
They let him go prematurely, probably.
In January,
However, it was clear that as a striker, he didn't have... he suffered a lot from confidence issues. And when he wasn't like at the top of his game, he really struggled. When he was confident, he was
he
crazy.
Scored some goals.
Some of the goals, yeah, man.
He had one volley, bro.
Of when Ricardo Rodriguez crossed it to him. That was, I think, his best goal for Milan. And the time he destroyed Koulibaly. On his debut.
He played Napoli twice in a row. Once he had, I think, come on, and then the next game he destroyed Koulibaly.
And that will forever... That has made me grounded when it comes to observing new players. Yeah. Like Jimenez scored, Joao Felix scored. They all scored.
I'm zen.
I'm like, yeah, they'll probably suck.
Yeah. You know? Tomorrow we get to watch them against Feyenoord.
That is crazy because obviously Milan acquired Jimenez from Feyenoord and they're going to want revenge.
Yeah.
And they're going to go out to kill Milan. Bro. Yeah. They're going to go out to kill Milan.
They just sacked their manager.
Have they?
Yesterday.
Oh god, the reaction is going to be against Milan. Yeah. One more thing is when it comes to Milan, just to say, do you think that all these guys should be starting together? Do you think it should be like Leao, Pulisic on the wings with Joao Felix in the hole and Jimenez up front?
I think that's the goal. The goal is to get there. But I think the way that he's been doing it, the way that he's leaving on talent to bring on and to upgrade and to get stronger as the team progresses, he's being smart. Exactly. I know it would be orgasmic to have Leao, Joao Felix, Pulisic, Jimenez, but...
Start with all of them, you're bringing on Chukwueze and Jovic.
Yeah, same problem as before.
Exactly, or Abraham, whatever.
Yeah.
Abraham, what a game against Roma.
Madonna.
That header was absolutely gorgeous.
Insane.
Yes.
Very good. Let's end it there. We'll be back next week with the usual weekly episodes. We hope that this episode served what we intended it to, that you guys are fully well versed on the signings that came in. Sorry, we don't have certain expertise on certain players as well, but we look
if you
forward
do, drop
to
a comment.
Yeah, but we look forward to learning more about them by actually watching them on the football pitch. We'll see you guys next week. We love you all. Ciao, ciao.
If you like Serie A or have ever liked it in the past, it's a good opportunity for you to listen once a week and you'll get filled in.
In the football weekend, that's like the main dish. But then a few days later, you drop your episode and that's like the dessert. And the dessert is just perfect.
It's good, the cake.
It makes it feel like we're all sitting in a room together, just BSing with each other.
The atmosphere is fantastic.
I promise nobody will ask you to send boob pics.
Sometimes maybe good, sometimes maybe shit.
I love how you go into so much detail and show so much passion towards each and every team. Literally, no team is left undiscussed.
When I listen to you, it's like I'm talking to you in a pub. It's like I'm chatting to a friend and you're chatting to me.